Alright, the purpose of this video is to kind of show a round trip DWFs edit for Revit using the A360 application. Okay, that assumes that you're doing the actual markups on your iPad, something like that, so we'll show that in a second. But here we are in Revit, and the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to go to the application menu. I'm going to export out the DWFs here. I'll hit next, and this is where again, if you're using Autodesk 360, if you just try to do this via the computer and then try to double click on this, it will open up a separate Windows Explorer, but that doesn't actually allow you to save it there. So what I've done is I've created a shortcut to the place where this actually exists here. So I just clicked on a shortcut, and there's that folder that is synced to Autodesk 360 does live on your hard drive by default in this location. So go to your user, see users, your username, app data, local, Autodesk sync, cloud, and then your Autodesk login name will be the folder typically where that resides. It may be different in your case, but that's the default path. And then I've got a folder I've created called Revit Projects, and I will save the DWFs here. Click OK, and it should reside there on my on that particular place on the Autodesk 360 drive. So I'm going to click here, and one of the things we might want to do here is sync this up first. That will ensure that it goes from my computer to A360 drive. You can see it's syncing right now. That file is basically being added. It will sync automatically, but I'm forcing the sync right now. That way we don't have to wait. So here we are. There's the DWFs. Now I want to edit this on my iPad. So I've got my iPad mirrored here, and that's my iPad. I'll just kind of minimize everything so you can get a feel for me working on my iPad, and it's in that Revit Projects folder. So I'll click on that, and there's the DWFs file. I'll open that. Take a second for that to load, and once it does, there's my DWFs. I'll make a markup here. We'll just do a little cloud markup, something like that, and then we want to go ahead and save this markup so we can bring it back into Revit. Now, the specific question that you're asking is, can this be saved as a DWFs using the iPad application? The answer is no. If I click on the upload, these are our options, and they're all screenshots. Okay, so I can email it, I can save it to the iPad device, I can save it or open this up in another app. Let's say you have a photo editing app or something like that. But in this case, I'm going to save it to the project. I'm going to save it to A360. And when I do, I can choose the folder here on A360, and I'll choose Revit Projects, and I'll hit select here. Now you'll want to be a little bit patient and wait, because I've done this before where I think, oh, okay, I'm done, but it actually hasn't saved it until you get this little message here. And if you short circuit that process, you're going to get a corrupted, or basically an empty file, which won't work. Okay, so once that's done, then you can X out of this. Discard changes because you actually saved the snapshot, or the JPEG in this case, and I'll just exit out of here altogether. Okay, so there should then be a file here. I might just have to go back out and go back in, make sure it's there. There it is. There's my snapshot that we could open here again and do some more editing, I suppose, but that's not my objective here. So once that's created, then back in Revit, the idea is we want that markup to be available to basically bring into Revit, make our life easier in the authoring software. So insert tab, link image, find that particular image again in that file, and I think you're just going to save yourself a ton of time by finding it, creating a shortcut here in your My Places list, and that way you'll have it there available to you in a one-click way. And so I'll snapshot, example Revit, bring it in. The scale is going to be a little bit off, and you will have to manually place it. So bit of a hassle, but and let me just put this in the foreground so that way I can see what I'm doing. And of course I can't now see my Revit model, so I'll put it back in the background. Just move it around, and this might take a second or two, so I'll move it. And it is an eyeball thing, but you know, you're working with an image file, so that's not too much of a problem. And then I'll scale it, and I'm not sure why it doesn't do it one-to-one, and I'm sure there's a perfectly plausible explanation as to why that's the case. I'll just scale it here to the center of the wall, and it's a little bit big, but you get the general idea. Let's just scale it again here just to complete the thought. And there we go. That's pretty much as close as we need to get it here. All the elevation marks are pretty much on. There you can see that the image is a little bit off, but not by much. And now I've got that markup I can work with inside of Revit. So hopefully you understand the basic round trip of working with the DWF markup, saving it as a snapshot, using your iPad application, then bringing it back into the application to Revit to actually perform the work that you need to.